We are back. Episode 5 of our commercial sales chats with Victor Antonio.
With Ed Donahue. Well, you know that already, so it's a big deal, man. It's a big deal.
Hey, we did this once this morning already. We did it at 8:30 Eastern, so we're going to come back at you. It's really important as we go through this broadcast that you participate in the chat, because we're going to be kind of poking you a little bit to make sure that you're along with us, because it will help us. So get active in the chat if you've got that capability. But
right.
Who do you see out there? I see a bunch of folks. I got to look at my little
First of
screen
all,
here.
I want to call out Claudio Atencio Jr. I saw you eating, brother. I saw you eating, man. You didn't share. What did your mother teach you, man? If you're going to eat something, share with everybody. Shame on you, Claudio.
I got Andre Goldwatch Parks. There's got to be some story there.
Dude, Goldwatch.
There's got to be a story. Hit it up in the chat, Andre, and let us know what that Gold Watch is all about.
Oh, wait a minute. I got one.
He's showing the watch. He's showing the watch.
Is he? Oh, there he is. Bling, blingage. There's got the Orchid logo on there. Come on, man. Put that Orchid logo on Andre Goldwatch Parks. Man, I got to give it to this man right here.
Jeez, who you got?
Man, this guy is so incredible. I'm going to highlight this boy. Kurt Lechner. Baby. Come on, Kurt, give me that profile. Show me them burns, baby. Give me that profile. Burn, baby, burn, there it is. Elvis is in the house. He has not left the building. Boobies here. By the way,
speaking about Elvis, how about that movie?
Dude, it's a great movie, man. Did you watch it, Kurt? Of course he did. Why would I ask that stupid question?
So rank that in the chat, 1 to 10.
1 to 10. What'd you think of the Elvis movie,
What'd you think?
Yeah.
I give it a flat out 10, 10, 10.
It was a great movie. I think it should have been longer. I would have enjoyed that. Who else is out there?
I see Ron Rydell. He's a blast from the past. Ron's out there.
Yeah, man. Hey, Liz, I want to talk to Liz Stove. I saw you fixing your hair. You don't need to do that on camera. Nobody needs to see all this on camera. Nobody needs to see all that. Nobody needs to see all that. We got it. You did your hair this weekend. Well done.
We got Dawn from Phoenix.
Knock 3 times on the ceiling if you want. Yeah, anyway.
She doesn't know that. She's too young for
too
that
young.
song.
Did I just date myself?
She does not.
Come on, man. Who remembers the group? Who remembers the group? It's an easy one, man.
Oh, we got a hands up. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat.
Man, Kyle Phillips gave the movie a 9.
Really? How do you give something a 9?
Yeah.
What would it take for you to give us a 10?
Yeah, there you go.
What would you take?
All right, well, cool.
I guess I just want to throw this out there. We got Dawn on here from Phoenix.
All right.
And we got Las Vegas commercial. And I think there was a football game this week, wasn't there? I don't know how that all worked out, but we'll let them figure that out. No, I think that's cool. I think nice attendance. You know, we had a couple hundred plus this morning.
We're over 100.
We're over 100. So we're about where we want to be. So let's get going, right?
Got good-looking people. Got Elvis in the house.
Amen.
Liz is in the game.
Amen.
Claudio's full. Let's go.
Let's talk about some August results first and share some numbers with them. Make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do that. And I will start out by talking about, obviously, the commercial broadcast, so we're going to talk about commercial sales. So we had a stellar August as far as the sales performance in August. And to give you a feel, give you an idea, our local commercial sales were up 13% year over year from last August, which was a spectacular last August. You know, phenomenal results we're having here. Our team sales in August, you know, the team sales, as I mentioned in the first broadcast, are the ones that our account managers and our technicians drive in conjunction with the national account folks. Those sales are up 51% year over year. Stellar performance. And our national sales were up 96% over last year, almost doubled what they were last August. So, you know, you roll all those up together, we had a 22% commercial sales increase in the month of August. And that's a little bit better than what we kind of been clocking along year to date, but our year to date numbers are just as good. 12% local commercial sales up over last year on plan. Team sales are up 20% over last year, so if you're not getting some of that team sale money, get after that. And our national sales, while they're down 15% to last year, we're kind of overcoming that budgeting process where we had 2 monster months in the first half of 2022 that we did in 2021, so we got to cover that. But we're 15% down to last year, but I'm 100% confident that we will catch up, and we started that climb, and we're already at plan on the national account sales side with what we got like almost half the month left. So we'll clock that. I mean, just outstanding. And then nothing really matter. The sales don't matter unless you convert it to revenue, and we've converted that to revenue, so we're starting all that business. And most importantly, we made a whole bunch of money. We had a phenomenal, the best August the company has ever had converting sales to profit. So the profit was just outstanding. So just a phenomenal profit performance.
Love it, man. What do you attribute to the growth, especially the 96% growth? What do you think that is?
Yeah, so we landed a couple bigger national deals, and we've got a lot of leads that came in from the field, right?
Okay.
So that's really starting to gel. That whole process of the account managers working with the national account folks is really starting to gel. And when we get to the individual performances, like 4 or 5 of the folks that are going to hit this list, we got a top 15 for you this month. 4 or 5 of those folks had national account team sales in excess of $50,000 last month.
Nice.
I mean, and the one guy, the guy at the top of the list is a guy from down in Florida. He had a $200,000 national account team sale.
Nice. So
Yeah.
a whole bunch of money.
A whole bunch of money.
Notice he said a whole bunch of money.
A whole bunch of
Hope
money.
you're going to share the love with a whole bunch of money.
We are going to share the love, but before we do that, you set me up last broadcast.
I did I?
With these folks on the second broadcast and said, you know, if we sold certain amounts, individual performances,
Gift cards, baby. Gift cards, baby. Gift cards.
if you
Bam.
got, if you got
free
over,
money, free
if
money.
you got over 85,000, $100
Yep.
gift card.
Yep.
If you got over 100,000, started business, a $200 gift card, and then somehow you worked me into giving away a $500 gift card
right.
for somebody that would start over 200,000, and I didn't think I would ever have to do it. Now I got some splaining to do to my boss, as he likes to say. I got to explain it to him what I'm doing, cutting off a $500 Amazon gift card to our top performer.
Well done, man.
You want to take a look at the top performers, the individual performers?
Let's roll the tape, run the numbers.
Let them have it, Stormy. Before we talk about the performances, in the chat, why don't you tell us your favorite sales movie?
Yeah.
What's
What
yours?
else? Man, it's. I think I'm going to go with Boiler Room.
Okay, I
The
love
Vin
that
Diesel
one.
one. The Vin Diesel one,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
what's his name? I forgot his name.
There's a bunch of talent in that
yeah,
one.
yeah. Who's the other guy? What's his name? The guy that's dating Jennifer Lopez. What's his name again?
Ben Affleck.
Ben Affleck. Yeah, that one.
Yeah, yeah.
That one. I
Mine's
like
old
that.
school. It's Glengarry Glen Ross. You know, you really can't play
Yeah,
those clips
everybody
anymore.
says.
But
Anyway, Tommy Boy, man. Tommy
Boy's
Boy's good.
awesome too.
That is a good one.
Tommy Boy's a good.
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street. There you go. Glengarry Glen Ross. Somebody beat me to it.
You got some good. By the way, I just wanted to give a big shout out to. I think it was who got it. Brad Craig got Tony Orlando and Dawn.
Amen.
Well done, man.
That Glengarry Glen Ross, we can't show it to you publicly,
Yeah.
but if you want to watch a really good movie with some incredible talent, Pacino, Spacey, who's the guy that's doing the Trump imitations on Saturday Night Live? What's Alec Baldwin? All these guys. Jack Lemmon. I mean, the stars
list.
in that. I mean, it's like
It's a great
like
movie.
Oscars all around. So
It's
yeah,
a great movie.
check that out.
By the way, I got to highlight this guy also because he made the list here. What a cool name, Hamlet Balyesa.
It's not
Hamlet. I mean,
I think his short name on the thing is
Hamlet?
Hammer. I love it.
Hamlet. I just got to ask this personal question. Might be out of bounds here, but did you have a trouble as a child with that name? I just need to know. Do you know what I mean? Yo, Hamlet.
He keeps populating our list, right? But what
love
about Dan? What about Dan Schooler? I kind
Way
of
to go,
mentioned it
Dan
down there in
Schooler.
Florida.
Dan the Man Schooler. There you go.
$224,000.
Which means
he gets himself a $500 Amazon gift card tonight in his email. And we got a whole bunch of other winners too.
Share the love.
David Nunez, Hamlet, Over Varela,
Well done.
Jeff Felling, Chris Pierce,
Great numbers.
Kyle Gorecki, Danielle, Ralph, Jason.
Yeah.
All get $200 gift cards.
Nice.
in
Does
their
anybody
email.
stand out on that list to you? Like, surprise or like,
I don't know that there's any surprises other than Monica White at the very bottom from North Carolina. She was on the earlier broadcast. She's been here for 3 months.
That's amazing.
3 months. 3 months. And she threw up $78,000 and start a business. You know, you
Monica's
got the
a
old standbys.
maniac. Yeah,
You know, Chris
love
Pierce.
it.
Chris Pierce always jumps off the page for me.
Yeah.
You know, like the all-time greatest commercial Orkin salesman ever.
He's
You know,
boring.
with like
Yeah. I
30
did it
some
again.
President's Club
Yeah.
trips in a
Well
row.
done, man. Well done.
Then again,
Good
just a lot of familiar faces, and again, a lot of team sales here.
Okay.
You know, I know that Dan had a big hospital group that he was part of, that he worked with Robert Bisa in that group and Rhonda to kind of lock down. So that was one.
Nice.
I know that Kyle Gorecki's landed a whole bunch of Kenco stuff. So I mean, a lot that kind of stuff. Ralph Porter had a big deal with. I don't remember the name of the account, but again, a big team sale. So again, working these team sale opportunities is paying off great dividends.
What are
for
you
the folks.
finding is the sales cycle for some of these bigger deals? Have you kind of looked at that?
Yeah, I mean, if the real big ones, you know, that when you get it north to 25, 30,000, they can
Right.
take a little bit of time, but don't let that fool you. You can
Right.
close some of the stuff in a day. You know, it depends on where the need's at and where the level's at.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But I don't know that we really have any real specific timing on the sales cycle.
Gotcha.
I think they're all individually kind of the experience and what's going on with them, right? And if you
Got it.
catch them at the
And
right
sense
moment.
of urgency. If you catch them at the right time, right budget.
Yeah, we get some budgeting stuff that goes on now. You know, as people are trying to budget for next year, there's some of
Right.
that stuff that starts to happen. The RFPs get way more prevalent on the national account side this
Love
time
it.
of year. You know,
Yeah.
people are getting their bids for next year.
Yeah, love
That
RFPs.
a lot of school systems, a lot of government stuff.
Really? Okay.
So yeah. But
Fantastic
no, again,
numbers.
the message is still the same, and it hasn't changed. In the fact that it's 15 winners over 75K, but it represents 12 different regions, right? So I mean, when you think about that, we've talked about it on every broadcast. It's never the land, it's never the turf, and I mean, you take it from Florida all the way up to the West Coast, out to the West Coast, all across the Middle States, all through the footprint. So it's never I got a better territory or he or she has a better territory than me. It's all what the man or the woman makes of it.
I love it. I love it.
It's just a fact.
By the
So-
way, Hamlet said it has never been a problem. It's always opened up conversations.
There you go. There
Well
you
done,
go.
man. I can see that.
Amen. Why don't we get started with the content? We're probably 10 minutes into this. We had a little bit of fun so far. But we're gonna go down that road of kind of skipping some stones. That's kind of been our MO as we launch these broadcasts, both residentially and commercially, to where we serve up some content. We kind of skim the surface, skip that rock across the top, and we ask you after the broadcast to take a deeper dive. And so I would ask you, we've skipped a bunch of stones. I'm not going to cover all of them, but have you scripted your "I want to think about it" response yet? Oh, well, you answer. No, you can. Don't answer in the chat. Don't put yourself out there. Have you scripted your voicemail response? The last broadcast that we had. Have you scripted a response to the customer that says, "I've had the same guy or the same gal for 20 years"? Have you scripted that? And again, just touch on the practice piece of that again, because it's a piece that we're going to serve this up. They got to dive deeper.
Yeah, I think, again, when we talk about the Sales Velocity Academy, excuse me, is that, again, when you're talking to, in the Sales Velocity Academy, there's 7 categories, and today we're going to talk about persuasion in one of them. But again, the response to "let me think about it," I've worked with this person for 15 years, what do you say? And people can detect when there's some hesitation. I think that's the big thing. And so today we're going to talk about my favorite. You want to tee? I'll let you tee this one up.
Yeah. So I think it's part of the reason that Victor's here in front of you. I think I've told the story maybe a couple times. I'm not sure if I did, but 12 years ago, I was a sales manager with the same group of salespeople for a pretty long time, right? And I think they got used to what I would say, or I don't know if they got bored with what I was saying, but oh, here comes Ed. He's going to say this. He's going to say this. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. So they knew my shtick. I kind of exhausted, kind of dumped my whole thought process on them, and I was looking for somebody else to come in and talk to our folks that was not me. And so I went out on YouTube, and as some of you know, I spend way too much time on YouTube, and found Victor basically online through YouTube videos that he was putting out at that time, and recruited him to come help us. Send him a direct message through YouTube. Find out he's 20 minutes up the road from us here in Atlanta. So we started to use him in our advanced sales classes that we had here when I was working in the Atlantic division as a division sales manager. And what really kind of attracted me to Victor was his, finding the why in how people buy versus how to sell to them. But I think the biggest piece of it was how to block objections. And until that point in time, I'd been drilling on how to overcome objections. And it was so enlightening to me. It's like, oh, you mean we can talk about these things before they come up? So we've waited until the 5th broadcast to serve this up to you. And we're not going to do the complete dive into it. This is going to be kind of a two-part thing. That's why we're going to need your help towards the end of this. But I wanted Victor to introduce you to his concept of response block, selling the book, and then blocking objections.
Perfect. So let me get into it. So let me start with a story. And I'll emphasize this, that if you were to ask me within the Sales Velocity Academy, which you should have access to, what is the one course, like the one course that everybody should pay attention to? It is the Blocking Objections course. Now, let me tell you how it came about. So a training company called me up, true story, and they wanted me to do some software training for their product. Now, they have a product that sells for $3,000 to $6,000. I'm going to give you the fast version of this story. And they said, hey, Victor, we'd like you to be one of our trainers. We got 6. We'd like you to be number 7. To which I said, how much do you pay? Because that's what I do. I'm a capitalist. I'm a good salesperson. If I get good value, I expect value in return. And they told me the number, and I remember I didn't believe the guy. And then finally he calls me back. He says, look, Victor, we really want you to be part of our team. He says, I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll pay your cost to fly you down to Orlando. You can watch what we do. And then if you like what we do, you can join us. So sure enough, I go down, there's 200 people in the room. There are trainers in the front of the room showing the software product, and he's presenting all day. Long story short, he closes 50% of the room, and the majority of people buy the $6,000 product. You can run some numbers there. I asked, how much did that trainer just make for that day? It was a good number. I was like, I'm in. So they gave me a script, they gave me the presentation, and they gave me access to the software so I can practice. So after a month of rehearsing the script, working with the presentation, learning how to use the software, they throw me down to Jackson, Mississippi. Why Jackson, Mississippi? Because they figured I couldn't do a lot of damage down there if things don't go right. So I do the first presentation, I close 17% of the room. I'm happy, I made some good money. But they're saying, no, you got to close 33% of the room in order for this to be successful, minimum. So for the next month or so, I struggled to try to get to 33%. Finally, they said, hey, let's get the guru to come in, this guy named Clint. So Clint comes down to watch me. I'm doing an event in California. After an hour and a half, Clint comes down the hall, the aisle rather, everybody's taking a break, and he says, Victor, I can see what you're doing wrong. To which I said, what? Tell me, because I'm anxious to know. No. He said, this is the key part. He says, you have people in the audience. He says, they have objections in their head. He says, sometimes they're not going to speak those objections, but they're there. What you have to do is take that objection and tie it down. And I go, what does that mean? To which he said, well, just take the objection and tie it down. Didn't help at all, right? And it was later on, this part I'm making up because I don't remember how long it took for me to really understand the psychology behind blocking objections. So I came up with this whole process of blocking objections. And so what I want to do is kind of give you the science behind it and then tell you how this works. Let me fast forward the news in terms of close rate. I went from 33 to like 54 average, more or less, 50 to 54. I was in that range, and there were some numbers that went above that, but I was closing that much in the room. So this is not anecdotal, it does work. But let me give you the science or the psychology behind it so you can understand why blocking objections is much more powerful than overcoming objections. So let's go to the slides here. So when I talk about blocking objections, I'm talking about reducing buyer resistance. Now, I want you to take a look at the screen. There's a bunch of lines there. Here's what I want you to do. Just look at the lines, and if you were to guess an estimate of the average length of these lines, for example, as you look at each line, kind of estimate the average length, and then come up with an average, right? So back to me, Stormy, on the camera. Now, here's what they did. Gentlemen, 2 guys, Morton Deutsch did an interesting study. They had 3 groups. Group 1, they said, look at all these lines, told each person, look at the lines, estimate the length of the line, come up with an average length. He says, we just want you to think of your answer, keep it in your head. Group number 1. Group number 2, what we want you to do is look at the lines, estimate the average, but we want you to write it down on the magic pad. Remember the magic pad where you would write something down and then you go zit and you just kind of, erase it? That was group number 2. Group number 3, we want you to write your answer down on a piece of paper, sign it, and hand it in, right? Phase 1 of the experiment done. Phase 2 of the experiment. The researcher comes back, has an answer for the average length that he knows is not going to match any of their answers. So he goes to group 1, who just had to think about their answer, and tells them, you're wrong. And group 1 puts up almost no resistance and kind of goes, you're probably right, right? Group number 2, who wrote it down, but then erased it, put up a little resistance, but in the end capitulated, like, whatever, you win, Victor. Group number 3, what do you think they did? These are the people who signed it, wrote it down, signed it, and handed it in. Group number 3 said, screw you, you're wrong, we're right. They refused to change their position. What Morton and Deutsch figured out was very powerful, that if the objection is still in the head, you can block it. But once somebody verbalizes an objection, it's hard to change their mind. In other words, they wrote it down. It's almost like putting it out in public. Once you make it a public declaration, whether verbalizing or writing it, they won't change their mind. The chances of you changing somebody's mind becomes less, right? So what does that mean to you and I? If you're doing a presentation, one-on-one, one to group, whatever it may be, you know there's objections in that room. I want you to think about politics today. For you to understand politics today, it's really simple now that you get this concept. If I say I'm a Republican, I will basically take a stance. I'm a Republican, I'll take that stance, right? And I will look for information to confirm my point of view, and you're not going to change my mind. If I say I'm a Democrat, I'll do the same thing. If I say I'm a Libertarian, I'll do the same thing. Once people verbalize an objection or a position, make it a public declaration, they're not going to change. But we've been taught to overcome objections. But as we know, an objection is a publicly stated opinion or declaration, which means you're not going to change their mind. So the point here is you want to block an objection while it's still up here. Here's what I mean by this. Let me go through some of this. Let me give you an example of a blocking objection structure. For example, I knew when I was doing that presentation that one of the objections in the room was, oh man, that software looks really hard to use, looks complicated. I know that's an objection in their mind. They're not going to state it because they might be embarrassed. So here's what I did. Step number one in blocking an objection. First of all, list the objection. But now I'm going to raise the objection by saying something like this. Many of my clients tell me the software is hard to use, and that's understandable. Notice what I just did. I raised the objection about the software being hard to use. I then offered to resolve it. But let me show you a few things to show you how easy it is to use that even a technophobe, somebody who's scared of technology like yourself, can learn it quickly. May I? Can I? And the person typically is going to say, sure, go ahead. Then I do the show and tell. Point, click, drag, drop, cut and paste, and I show them the software, how they could use it. And then here's where I tie down the objection. I say, based on what I've shown you, do you think with a little practice and a little support, you can do this? And what do you think? Most people say, yeah, I can do that. And as soon as they say, yeah, I can do that, you've just tied down that objection. Do you want to add anything to that, Ed?
Yeah, I think that I do want to kind of pile on top of that because since I kind of started kicking around Victor, I bet you maybe on one hand the number of times somebody has said to me at the end of a presentation, out with an account manager, out with one of the NAMs, out with the TSI in my frequent travels, that they've said your price is higher than everybody else. Well, your price is higher because we just beat them to the punch. We know it's coming, so we want to take that on and get after that aggressively. And I think that that's really important because just think about that example that Victor used. You know, if you wait for that customer to say, this software is way too complicated, then you're swimming uphill because that wall goes up, right? And you can't dig through that. But if you understand, you know, what your common 3 to 5 objections that you're getting all the time, and you script around it to kind of, I call it pushing it out on the table and owning it, right? You know it's coming. You might as well control it and instead of letting it surprise you at the end.
Correct. And the thing is also, keep in mind, you're raising the objection, so you're controlling the conversation. That's the important piece. You're controlling the conversation. Because you're controlling the conversation, you can guide it. But something subtle is also happening. When you know there's an objection in the client's mind, whether it's pricing or I've used to work with this vendor, I've been working with them 5 years, I don't want to change. It's up here. It's in their head. As soon as you verbalize it, there's a sigh of relief in them. Like, oh, good, I'm glad he's going to talk about price because I didn't want to mention it. Oh, I'm glad he's going to talk about wanting to switch over because you know what, I'm really comfortable. And if you raise that objection, you control that conversation. You can also feel that, you know, that resistance go down.
Well, I think it builds the confidence that the potential client has in you.
Great point.
This guy's faced this before. This gal's seen this before. They get it at Orkin. They know that this is an issue for me in my head. And I always talk about the one, you know, if we told the 130 or 140 people that are on here right now and asked what your number one objection is, I would bet that like more than half of you would say price. And I would argue that till the day they throw dirt on me, that selling commercially is not, the biggest objection is not price. It's that I guess that status quo, that adversity to change. And we've covered that in some of the other broadcasts. But if you own that up front, even that's one that they may not say verbally. If you let them say, boy, your price is higher than everybody else, then you'll get that one. But what they may not say, that objection that you got to block before they may never say it, is they're sitting there thinking, man, this is really tough to change. I don't know if I want to change. And it may not come out of the back of their brain, but so I always address that head on with our money back guarantee by just simply telling them, look, You know, we get it here at Orkin. It's not easy to change vendors. And I'm not talking about the lead that you get that they got a problem and they call you. I'm talking about the 85 to 90% of the business that you're going to scratch up, that you're going to self kind of popularize and get into your funnel, where you get a chance to kick the tires, go in and do an inspection where they've got some level of satisfaction. You got to get that out there. And I've always told them, you know, the coolest thing about doing business with Orkin is we figured out a long time ago, it's not easy for customers to change any kind of vendor. So we just simply take all the risk away for you. We simply tell you, if you're not completely satisfied with the service and the results that service renders after 60 days, we own it. We're going to give you all your money back. And in fact, we're going to pay you the regular monthly fee that Ecolab's charging you right now. So if you say that and you own that up front, you know, that kind of helps them, I think, understand that. Well, we're blocking it before it comes up, but, you know, beating them to the punch on the ones that are going to come up that just stick you. If somebody says your price is too high,
Yeah, if you know it's going to be there. Now, this comes with a warning, right? Always comes with a little warning. Never raise an objection that isn't there.
Yep.
Right? So in other words, if it's an exception, I never bring up those exceptions, right? So always focus on those. But one of the things that I like the fact that you mentioned about the confidence, like, you know, they know you're confident. Yeah. But I think it's also important to realize that you can build scripts around these, and as you're doing the presentation, it's going to feel very natural to block these one by one, and you will feel the resistance. Let me give you a graphical image of what I mean. When you talk to a client, when you're first starting, it's always at 100%, let's say, not wanting to change. I want you to imagine that what we're trying to do is reduce that resistance over time. And let's say that each of these triangles represents an objection. And maybe the first one you block is, no, we're just curious. We're not ready to make a decision. That's an objection. You might want to block I want to do more research. That could be the next one you block. Price objection. Now's not a good time. How about the switch over? In other words, I've been working with this vendor. I don't know. And if you do that, you'll hit that buy-in line. And I think that's what people need to work in their presentation. So as you're looking at this graph, think about your presentation. Is it 45 minutes? Great. In there, I want you to analyze, are you breaking down, in other words, each objection as you go through that? So that's what I would do, Ed. I would just really figure this out in my presentation.
Yeah, and here's where I think we want to kind of transition to the chat a bit. We're doing this in two parts. We're going to come back to you next time, and we are going to script out objections. Victor and I are going to work together. I've already worked through a whole bunch of them, but what we want you to put in the chat right now is the one or two objections that come up to you consistently, so that then we can help you kind of lay that out next time and really come back with the meat and potatoes on how you may or might want to think about overcoming those, or blocking, not overcoming, blocking those. What's the matter with me? Slap me around a little bit. I got it all wrong. Teeing it up so you can block that objection. Like I said, I mean, I can count on one hand the number of times people said you're more expensive than the other folks because you beat them to the punch. Now, that doesn't mean you show up when you walk across the business threshold and say, hey, Bubba, we're going to be more money than everybody else. Are you ready for this? You know,
you got to
timing,
highlight that.
It's placement. It's where you want to put it. You know, and I think that will be good. So hit that chat up. Let's jump into that chat and.
Yeah, and by the way, Hamlet says, remove the anxiety ahead of time. You're dead on. Kent says, acknowledging the customer's fears and thoughts and assuring them they will not be an issue, puts them at ease and allows us to discuss the features, benefits with no objections. I'm 100% with you. You caught the danger, Will Robinson. I don't know what warning equals moderately toxic. I don't know what that means. So
That's pretty. He's a fast typer, too.
Yeah, I don't know what Kent's on. But anyway, so I think if you block objections over time, I think it's fantastic. So yeah, enter some of your typical objections that you typically get in the chat. What we're going to do is analyze some of these and maybe write out some scripts for them when we do the next session, correct?
Yeah, and we will keep this chat open kind of through for like 10 minutes after. So get them in there. The more you give us, the more we can get after, and we'll pick maybe the top 4 or 5 and script them out. And
I think I want to emphasize this line. So I really want you to listen to this line. Price is always a concern, but it's never an issue. That's how I look at them. Yeah, everybody's concerned about price, but if you create the value, it's never really an issue. And I think that's where we fall sometimes. And by the way, it's not my opinion. Study after study keeps showing that less than 10% of the deals lost had something to do with pricing. So it's not just me, it's what the data is showing.
Yeah, and I think the other piece too, I mean, most of the time we're going to charge more money. So I mean, if you can't figure out a way to get that thing blocked up front, you know, you may run into a rare circumstance to where, you know, we're cheaper than somebody else, and you know, oh boy, I would suggest you check your rate card or check with your boss. Maybe you did something wrong.
Right.
Because typically we're more money, but you know it's there, you know it exists. And again, like Victor said, let's try to figure out ways to address it up front so we can kind of just put it to bed, at least not let them bring it up at the end and
I
shut
love
you
this.
down.
By the way, Christina Lucero has an interesting one. Haven't had any issues with pests. That's an interesting one.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know where to go with that one.
I'd go.
I gotta be honest on
I'd
that.
go next door. I'd go looking for pests.
all right. I guess we're done here.
Everybody's not a candidate.
Yeah.
No. We'll mess around with that
That's
one.
funny.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Amani's hard. You get what you pay for. Yeah, you get what you pay for.
Can't compare Ford to Lexus.
Man, she's in it.
We are the best. All right, so we're half hour in. Again, keep the chat going. Keep that stuff coming so that we can kind of work our way through this, and we will come back. But in the interim, Persuasion tab.
Yep. Within the Sales Velocity Academy.
In the Sales Velocity Academy, blocking objections. I literally, in preparation for this today, watched the entire 11 videos, and the longest video was 5 minutes. Most of them were somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 to 3. You can click through that whole set in an hour. If you're sitting down on the back deck, drinking an IPA and smoking a cigar, like I was last night, you can watch all of it.
And you get me for 11 videos.
And you get Victor for 11 videos.
What a bonus.
Yeah, how about that? Hey, let me do some housekeeping, then we'll get out of here. That makes some sense. So, some housekeeping items for you to kind of be concerned with or be attention to. We launched the Hilton Supply Chain, team sale opportunity 2 videos ago, and we've sold about $150,000 worth of that business since then. So anytime you get into these creative appointments, it's not going to be a one-call close. It's not going to be a one-call get an appointment. Stay on the radar. Keep touching them, right? So if you haven't had success yet, don't give up. It's only been a couple of months. But when you land these opportunities, they're pretty big. There was a $42,000 Hilton Supply Chain sale that was made out in the country that, just being persistent. So stay on top of that. October 18th, we're going to have an Orkin Pro Day. We used to call it Field Day with the rejiggering of the Orkin image, the Orkin Pro. With that, on October 18th, what you're going to be asked to do is to go out and spend the day with one of your technicians, riding in the truck, getting in their shoes, and just hanging out with them. We're going to do that across the country. There are a couple of regions and maybe even one division that's got some conflict with the date, but it'll be just like the College Pro Days. We'll rotate that. So if the 18th doesn't work for your region, then we'll do it another day. But there'll be a whole bunch of support materials coming out for that will help you with that. The Response Block Selling book is available inside the Sales Velocity Academy for free downloads. And the last couple things, really kind of timing. We're over 20 days through September here, and we're pushing two buttons. We're pushing kind of a push to make President's Club. It runs a calendar year now, President's Club. So you folks that are on the bubble or trying to track your way to President's Club, realize you really got 3.5 months to make that happen. But more importantly, for all the account managers on the call, I think this is like the most primo time to really stay laser focused on where your year-to-date started net sales are, because as you know, Victor, their commission scale starts at 15 on recurring sales, and can flex all the way up to 20% commission on the recurring sales, and they do that by dialing in their year-to-date performance. So if they get to 320,000, they move up to 16. Every 40,000, they move up another percent. So there are folks in these next 3 months can bump their commission rate 2-3%, by hitting a couple of these home runs, these $100,000 months. And the cool thing about that is when you dial that in at December 31st, you will dial in your commissions, your recurring commissions, for all of next year.
Nice.
So you're looking, if you're averaging $300,000 in sales annually, and you can bump that commission, 1 or 2 points, or if you get to 400 or 500, we're talking about $6,000, $9,000, $12,000 raises that are available there. You got to stay focused. Know your numbers. Be selfish about that. Make sure you're tracking that. Make sure you're earning those bumps as you cross those thresholds. Check with your region sales managers. The other thing I would say is, just watching football, I saw something yesterday that was kind of interesting, and particularly for a Steeler fan, right? So the Steelers lost. I mean, they lost to the
I used to like the Steelers.
To the hated Patriots.
Remember that? What was that dude's name? The guy that had a missing tooth.
Jack Lambert.
Yeah.
Number 58.
He would roll in the backfield. Remember that? They would just show the slow motion in Lambeau Field. The snow was coming down. Jack's looking mean with no teeth in the front. The Iron Curtain, man. I remember that.
Confused with Nitschke? Maybe not. But yeah, Lambert. Iron Curtain. You got it.
Yeah, I know a little bit.
So even if you're behind your goals and your numbers, I would encourage you to stay after them, because there were 3 NFL football games that took place this weekend that the team with the 2% chance to win the game, and all these analytics and all these algorithms, 3 teams with the 2% chance to win the game with 2 minutes to go won. And the cool thing about being a Steeler fan is the 3 teams that lost were the Browns, the Ravens, and the Raiders. And there's nothing better for a Browns fan to see or for a Steeler fan than to see the Browns lose and the Ravens lose, and to lose in such a torturous way. Right?
You found that delicious?
Yeah, yeah.
You found that delicious?
Yeah, absolutely. Just
know.
absolutely entertaining. So the only other thing I have is the survey. I sent it in the email last night. I asked you all to fill out a survey, and the survey is pretty important to the marketing folks. It's kind of how we're trying to figure out the direction of the company. So if you haven't had a chance to click on the link in the survey, please do that and spend that 5 to 10 minutes to get through that survey. There have been a couple of glitches with some folks getting kicked out, but keep trying, and we'll try to fix that if you weren't able to do that. But right now, we only have, here's my salespeople, my people, right? There's only like 120 of them have filled out the survey, and we got like 1,200 of you out there. And but salespeople don't like surveys. So I would encourage you, please, to take the time to fill out that survey. It's critically important to our direction as we move forward, as we work through this.
I want to make sure D'Angelo Kimball fills out the survey, because any guy that just gives him the profile during the whole, we only get his profile through the whole thing. He's so cool, he doesn't even look at his camera. Like, yeah, just look at this, man. And then, by the way, Gordon's joined, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah,
I thought he was on vacation, sipping pina
He's
colada
always on
somewhere.
vacation. Yeah, he's always on vacation.
Works, man.
But no, I think that's all I got. I mean, we're looking forward to it. Again, keep the chat going. Keep putting your objections in the chat, and we'll report back to you.
By the way, Andrew McIntosh.
Yeah.
His objection here is, I haven't had any pest issues. Well, I haven't been in a car wreck, but I still have car insurance.
Nice.
With a name like McIntosh, I mean, that is the snootiest response I've ever heard. Yeah, well done.
Sean Wilson says, did someone say IPA and cigar? Yeah. I think I can hang out with that cat. All right, let's get out of here. We've been too long. Appreciate your time. A phenomenal August. We're off to a really good start in September. Let's finish out the back half of this and go bump your commission rate for next year. That's it. Let's go.
Let's go. Take care, guys.